Welcome back to Streamline Investigations, people. This is by 7 News Australia. No new clues as latest search for Gus Lamont set to end in the South Australia outback. So, no new clues at the moment. The army have been drafted in the last couple of days as well. A bigger search than the first one, and yet nothing to be found. What has happened to Gus Lamont?
Search in South Australian history, the painstaking mission to find a little boy who vanished in the outback is set to wrap up tomorrow.
Lauren Rose is live at Yunta for us. And Lauren, unless there's an 11th hour breakthrough, Gus Lamont may never be found.
Rosanna, as you can imagine, this is not a decision emergency crews have made lightly, but by 11 o'clock tomorrow morning, they will have scoured the areas they set out to on this second phase of the search for the 4-year-old. Australian Defence Force personnel followed a wider circumference from the homestead where Gus was last seen 19 nights ago, where experts say it's possible he could have walked to, but still there's nothing. When he went missing, he was wearing a sun hat, a t-shirt, pants and boots. None of that has been found. The operation has been physically demanding too. Today temperatures have reached 36 degrees and strong winds have whipped up dust.
Everyone is doing everything they can. I'm asking the Australian Police and the ADF and other agencies that are involved.
If nothing is found tomorrow, Gus's case won't be closed. Long-term missing persons investigations stay open. It's possible police could return here again.
Wow, this isn't good at all. They found nothing. And a lot of people have been saying they don't think basically Gus is in that area. And I believe that tracker said it earlier in the case that he doesn't believe that Gus is in that area too. This is very, very worrying, people, that this investigation could just get less and less and less and eventually just dwindle away. Very, very odd case. Very, very worried that this little boy may never be found. Let's move on to part 2, see what the sleuths are saying. Not happy, but like I said, the police and the investigations are doing everything possible that can help find Gus. But there's no sign of it. I just don't think he's out there. I really don't. It's funny because Ali said to me the other day, before I looked at this video, that the little boy's eyes didn't look as happy as it did, say, a few months ago, which is quite bizarre. And listen to what this guy says, ADF Girl 77. This is interesting.
Look, you can believe what you want to believe, and you can say, oh, you're not being sensitive enough or whatever. This little fella Gus deserves to be fucking spoken about, and he deserves to have full-blown investigations about what the fuck has happened to him, right? If you look closely to the photo, he's got a black eye. He has a black eye. And this whole thing sounds fucking suspicious from the start. I'll be honest with you all, and I'm going to say this, and people may think, oh, you don't know what it's like. Investigate the family. Interrogate the family. Because a little kid doesn't randomly go missing like this in the middle of nowhere. Investigate the fucking family.
I just want to say one thing, is that there's no way that child would, walk 25 km. I just don't believe it. I know that it's an area which the police have to check and, and everything like that. I respect that. But if he wandered off, at some stage, he'd be scared and wander back, to be honest with you. This is what I think. It's bizarre because there's no tracks of him. There's no sign he was taken by an animal or, was fighting for his life and there's blood on the scene. It just doesn't make sense. It really, really doesn't. And I believe the truth lies with the family now. I really do. If nothing's found tomorrow, which a lot of people said, it won't come to that. some of the timelines, people. God, police are called at 8 p.m. while it's dark. Or getting pretty dark at that time as well. Brilliant for putting this up. It just gives people of what's been happening in the case so far and up to date. .500 square meters. That's just unbelievable. You know, we can't say the police have not worked hard. Poor little Gus. To be honest, I'm not really sure, because kids, the environment he lived in, he could fall. The black eye, you'd have to question. But there's, don't know what to say, to be honest with you. But the nose, falling over, injured. But like I said, the blackness of the eye, you sometimes got to look into that, haven't you? But maybe the father, the maternal father, would probably know more about that, or would have put a complaint in otherwise. You would have thought so, because obviously he doesn't get on with the grandmother. Let me know what you think, people. But that's definitely something that I hadn't noticed before. This is by Michelle Robinson, who's a medium, and she did make some good points, and she's not over the top with it as well. Have a listen.
Hi guys, I went for a walk this morning and I was talking on my phone to my brother, and I mentioned about Gus and wondering whether or not he was still with us. I assumed not, from the length of time he's been missing. And as I mentioned to him, I organically got the image in my mind's eye of his body being carried from a region of a house out to some sheds that were on the right-hand side when you're facing the house, in the arms of what appeared to be like a granddad type figure. He had short grey hair, glasses, maybe 70s. I'm not sure, hard to gauge, but kind of an elderly, stoutish, not skinny, gentleman, and he was being carried, and I energetically felt like it was to the right facing the house, and there's several buildings there. So outside of the kind of compound of the garden building, or to the buildings, I definitely got that he had passed. So my heart goes out to everybody involved in this situation. I heard that it was kind of incidental or accidental, wasn't an intentional passing.
A lot of people said that's a massive possibility that he may have had an accident, but possibly the family covering it up because it was an accident.
I did see the grandma sitting on the veranda, or standing on the veranda, wringing her hands, and I felt that she was just absolutely frantic, really anxious internally with the whole situation. And I saw her as quite a stout lady in an apron, long white hair up in a bun. And I felt like the house may be yellowish weatherboard, but yeah, I just got a flash of yellow weatherboard. The door in the middle, and I felt like he had been in one of the bedrooms for a little length of time before he was taken out. I saw his feet, and on his feet were little boots that were pull-on little leather boots, and I was drawn to the tread on those boots. I felt like they had been placed on his feet. I saw what looked like a prescription medication box, and I heard ADHD. That's kind of maybe significant. I know in Australia you can't give medication, or there's no diagnosis for ADHD for a 4-year-old. I think it's age 7. So I'm not sure whether he was given some kind of medication that perhaps, I don't know, but that's what I saw. Then I did see some soil being placed or thrown onto his face, shovelled onto his face, so I knew he'd been buried. So I just went where I felt my energy was being drawn to, and I was being drawn to one building in particular. Beside it, on the right-hand side, facing the homestead and the buildings, was like a water tank raised up on a stand, maybe like a windmill on that, but something off the top of that. And then the building itself, it's more like a large shed. I didn't feel like it was a barn or somewhere where you park tractors. It was smaller or darker than that. It did have I could see one little window in particular, which was lighting the place, but it felt a little bit dark, and I just felt drawn to the ground, standing in this building. So whether or not he's buried in or near that building, I'm not sure. I saw a farmhand as well, but he looked...
The thing is, if she's talking about buried, who would have put in there? Who would have buried him? Obviously, those questions would have to be sinister in that why would someone bury him for a reason? And it was to hide an accident, should I say. Is that a possibility? People, she may be onto something. Obviously, she's alleging because she's a psychic and she might have seen something spiritual that may be connected to this case.
Very distant and removed, younger, leaning on a shovel, which I don't know if that's significant, but he just felt a little bit more removed, like he's there. There was 3 people I saw, plus the body of beautiful little Gus himself. I do see that a detective is kind of onto it. There's one man in particular. So I feel like there's lots of people scouring, and I do know that is the case, widespread areas. So I don't feel like there's many people around those buildings in particular, but that this detective is onto it. And today's the 15th of October, and I feel like within 3 days he will be found closer to home. So it's almost like the search party's kind of not in the right vicinity, the majority of them at the moment, but there's someone who seems to be very onto it. I'm seeing him, why I think he's a detective is because I'm just seeing, in my mind's eye, I get ways that I can identify that. So in a jacket and a tie.
Look, the bottom line is that, look, they've got some of the best police looking into this case, and they've given it to the best department as well. We don't want this case to be going on and on and on, and there's no proof of anything. There's a possibility that could have happened, but like I said, it's proven it. Someone said in a message yesterday, we don't really know anything at the moment, but what we do know is that the grandmother last saw him technically after 5 p.m. and that was it. That's all we know. And then they rang the police basically 3 hours later because they were in distress looking for him. That's all we know. That's all we know. And the police at the moment, they don't think that there's any third-party invention or the family done anything to this child at the moment. We've got to go with that as well. But it's odd he hasn't been found. How far can a 4-year-old boy walk? I just don't think that far. I really don't. Certainly not 25 km.
And he seems very astute, very good. He's got some inklings, and it's just a matter of time, of the clues and things adding up. I do feel like the story will be told by the grandma eventually. So whether or not that comes before the finding of the body, I'm not sure. But yeah, a very sad situation overall. And I also just want to say rest in peace, Gus, and send love out to everybody involved in this terrible situation. And also want to say this is psychic impressions. I'm a psychic medium, so I get intuitive impressions. This is not...
Look, she was, everyone's got their own assessment on it. Sandra says in the chat, why did the Cavida dogs not pick up his smell? I also think he is around the house. I do too. Can you please, if you get anything for Jack McLennan, he needs to be brought home to his mum. Normally, I do this kind of work, but I can see if any impressions come up when I'm thinking him, I will happen if it comes, you want me to share this, okay? Why haven't you told the police this, Michelle? He will be found soon. It will all come out in the end. Yeah, we hope so. We hope so. But like I said, that's just her, I guess, spiritual sense that she thinks she's passed to the other side. That's exactly what my reading told me, that our people manipulating the truth, but it will all come out to light. It also said that someone is going to come forward and share key information, because she's just exploiting the situation for her own personal gain. It's discussing what people think to do. Look, like I said, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. No, I don't think they would take a call from an intuitive, but I feel he will be found soon. If that's all she said. She's entitled to her own opinion. She was quite professional with it, I think, at the end of the day. But like I said, I think time will tell in this case, to be honest with you. I had my son diagnosed ADHD and prescribed meds at 5-year-old. That's very, very interesting. The boot print of a shoe print was only planted there to disguise, to fool everyone, but they don't see it. The person did it in a hurry. That's why the other shoe wasn't visible, swept by the wind. Interesting stuff. Let me know what you think, people, because like I said, I think the truth will come out, but I just don't believe we're being told everything by the family. I really don't. Let me know what you think, people. Don't forget to subscribe to Streamline Investigations and Streamline Entertainment. Thank you. It's free to join, people. Thank you.